And now the moment you have all been hanging out for. It's my pleasure to introduce the President and CEO of the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, Mr. Jack Potter.
Good afternoon, everybody. And what a great crowd. Thank you very much. I want to thank the committee for Dulles, Scott York, Brandon. Thank you for having me today. Obviously, there's a lot going on in our airports, and on an annual basis, I come and I talk to the committee for Dulles about the Airports Authority. So I'm going to talk about both airports. On an annual basis, Rich Golanowski comes to the committee and gives an in-depth report about Dulles. So just know that I think a lot of people are here for Dulles, but know that this is going to be an Airports Authority report. So let's talk about kind of where we are. Okay. Let's get to the beginning. Okay. All right, so challenging times. What's that? Oh, that's good. Could you hear me when I didn't have the mic? No? Okay. All right, so we talk about challenging times, and there's a lot going on. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. There's very active at both airports. And so, looking forward to sharing with you kind of some of the perspectives we have at the Airports Authority. So first of all, every time I come, I always talk about cost per employment. Because we said years ago, how many people were here 15 years ago? 10 years ago? Remember the problem. Problem was our cost compared to other airports was extremely high to airlines for every passenger they put on a seat. In those days, we were talking about $28, $30, and we were amongst the highest airports in America. And we said, we're going to get and drive traffic to our airports by making it economical for airlines, and economical in the airline parlance means profitable at both airports. Because if you make money, you're going to serve the airport. And so we started out in the high 20s at Dulles. We drove that number down to under $10 last year. Right? Think about that. About 28 down to 10. And that's in real dollars, not in, accounting for inflation. So think about that. And so airlines at that time, we were talking about years ago, $28, that was, a real problem. Well, today, you look at other airports, New York airports and some of the West Coast airports, Chicago, they're in the 30s, 40s, 50s. There's a couple that are over 100. So we still are a bargain. Now, what that has done, it means that there's room for investment. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But what it did drive was a lot of new airlines. We have over 50 airlines here at Dulles Airport, some 26 new routes. And what it ended up being was, when you look at 2025, we were the large hub, the fastest growing large hub in America. That was a product of a lot of hard work. I'm really proud of my staff. I'm proud of the airlines that work with us, United in particular. They're the ones that drove this. The fact that we were able to attract a lot of new international carriers here, that's what made us the fastest growing hub in America. The last couple of years, as a matter of fact. Now, but we're back to the real world. And the real world is, there's the war. What has the war done? Well, it's affected the ability to fly into and out of this safe zone that exists all around the Middle East. And so we've lost some service. You can see some of the brand names there that have either reduced service or eliminated some service. It's driven the price of fuel up. And what does that mean? That means ticket prices went up relative to what happened with fuel. That means that there are fewer people flying. And so that's the reality of today. Now, thank God, it looks like the MOU is signed. It looks like we're starting to move back in the right direction. It really hasn't affected the front of the plane. People with money are still flying, despite the fact that prices went up. But the people in the back of the plane are not flying because they can't afford. Those who don't have discretionary income to fly and are very price sensitive, they're not flying. And so we hope there'll be a rebound. Prices are already on the way down in terms of fuel prices. And so we're hoping for a rebound. And so this year, despite the fact that we have 2 new airlines and 10 new routes at Dulles. So we're going to continue to grow. And, I think we're going to see hopefully a quick rebound. Now, last several years in a row, we come in every time, we say we're growing, we're growing, we're growing. Well, we got a little bit of a hiccup here. And the hiccup is that with what we just saw, we're expecting that we will see growth at Reagan National this year, but we're not sure we're going to get it at Dulles. And so this forecast was as of May, late May. We'll see what happens now coming back. We'll see whether the airline passengers return, whether the prices are able to be driven down, and whether we'll see a return. Now, I don't think it has any impact on the long-term prospects for both of our airports. But there is this blip in the screen, and it won't affect, I don't think it won't affect airlines' desire and United's desire to grow at both of our airports. So all good, but we have this hiccup, and so you won't see that good news going forward. The other thing that we have that's affected us is some of the Ebola screening. We have a lot of service to Africa, and so we are one of the early sites that was designated to do Ebola screening. We're doing that. I want to assure everyone they're safe. Most folks, the only ones that are able to fly here are American citizens, and they are screened overseas. They're screened here, and we have a dedicated ambulance. No other passengers can go in that ambulance. It's dedicated to move people who have, and by the way, we have this year-round, but particularly in Ebola, to move these special movement people off our campus and to the appropriate medical centers wherever they are. Now, this is the big news, right? We know that there's a big plan to modernize Dulles. And we're very grateful to the administration for having recognized that there's an opportunity here. People ask me, what's your reaction to this? It's pretty simple. If you ran an airport, who's going to turn down the opportunity to make your airport a world-class airport? And we've known that we have improvements that need to be made at Dulles Airport. What's cited and you hear most about is the mobile lounges, and we have people who are fans of the mobile lounges. But we also know that it's not something you see at all airports, and it's problematic, particularly at peak times, right? And so we want to fix that. And the plan has always been to fix that. And if you look at our modernizing plan, much of what you see up there, if you looked at our master plan, that's what it is. It's basically, this has been our long-term plan. We're going to accelerate that plan, but we're also going to make it, more elegant than what we would have done, right? In the sense that we want it to be world-class, we want it to be welcoming to people from around the world. And the good news is that airlines want to be here. And we're very fortunate to have United Airlines as our primary airline at the airport, because they have an opportunity to use this airport as a hub, to use it as an international center, a gateway to the East, going to Europe, going to Africa, going to the Middle East. And so, in conjunction with United, we worked together when the president went out and said, we'd like to have people come in, remember they did that RFI, come in and tell us about how you would modernize Dulles Airport. And so a number of companies, 31 companies came in with responses. And as that progressed, we were given the opportunity to work, and we did it in conjunction with United Airlines, given the opportunity to present our ideas and talk about what it is that we would do. And collectively and jointly, we went, in fact, Scott Kirby represented this option to the president and did a fabulous job. And so right now, this is the path that we think we are on. It's not 100% final yet. Still dotting I's, crossing T's, and making sure that, you know, we are in total partnership with United Airlines, that Department of Transportation accepts the path that we're on. And so I'm expecting at by the end of July that you'll see some kind of an announcement here. And I'm hoping that we will be, and what you see there will be the choice. Now, prior to this, and this is, you've read in the paper, it's $20 billion total. Well, we already had a $7 billion plan. It's not as if we weren't modernizing, and modernizing consistent with this. And so, if you look at it, this plan, the biggest change is what happens at the main terminal and what happens with the current AB concourse. We had a plan, the $7 billion plan included a connector between the main terminal and the AB concourse. It included building out the regional gates, the A gates, that the regional ones that United operates, build that out and make it commercial gates. What it did not include was, when you look at this rendering, what it did not include was what we're calling a processor. Now, what's a processor? When you go into ticketing, right now, if you go through TSA, you go downstairs to the checkpoint. Well, in the new concept, you'll go through the ticketing level. By the way, we're going to reorient the ticket counters. Instead of being east-west, they'll be north-south. So you come in and they'll be shorter, obviously, and you walk through and get your ticket and walk straight through to the processor. The processor will be TSA. You'll no longer go downstairs. The processor will be immense. It'll have a high atrium, lots of windows. It'll be what you are seeing at airports around the country and around the world. It'll be the welcoming for you to come from Washington, the Washington metro area. You walk in, and that'll be your introduction to the gate area. We're going to build gates at the terminal on the east and west side, 5 or 6 in each direction, so 10 to 12 gates. We'll build gates on the connector. We'll have a connector from that processor out to the AB concourse. Right now, if you go through the tunnel, you come up, and what do you see? You see duty-free shops. Well, that'll be a tremendous corridor. United is planning to put their international flights on that connector with world-class stores. And then you'll still have access to the train. The train takes you out now on the east side to the A, the C, and then we're building a new concourse. We will build one. We're going to call it D out. And there's already an existing train station. We're going to build that out, and we're going to build a concourse there so that you'll see that kind of a development. Bottom line is we're going to build the trains out on the west side. And one thing we're going to do is we're going to move away from mobile lounges. But we're not going to move away tomorrow. This is going to take 8, 10, 12 years, whatever it takes, because we're not going to build it. In the past, what they did was they built it and hoped that people would come. And what happened as a result? As a result of that, we had the highest cost per employment, bar none. I think we were number 2 in the country. And why? Because we built a lot of things, the underground train, we built garages. We built as if we were going to have 40 million passengers, and we were down in the low 20s. And we never broke out of it because we had this high cost. So as we go forward, we're not going to make that mistake again. We're going to build to demand. First, we're going to build to replace, because we have to replace the D gates, we have to replace the C gates, the 40 plus years of temporary gates, right? That's what they were. Hodgepodge slapped together. So we have to replace those. But we're not going to do a full build out, because this full build out literally is for 70 or 80 million passengers. And so we're not going to be there. right? And so we will build out, we'll make that main terminal, the connector, the AB concourse, a palace. And then we'll build as we need it going forward. That's our plan. Now, subject to some last, hurdles that we have to get over, but that's the plan. And I think it's going to be a fabulous experience for people 12 years from now. Because already I'm going to apologize in advance to say, during construction, we're going to make sure that we take care of the customer. The good news for us is, when you think about this, we're building out new space. The CD concourse doesn't have to be knocked down until we have replacement gates, right? So we will come up with a game plan, and hopefully in a couple of months, if Scott's and Brandon are willing, I'll come back and we'll talk about what that plan really is, all right? Because it'll be cemented, right? It'll be more, I'll be able to talk about it more confidently, in the coming months, if we make the hurdle, and I believe we will. So, we are already building that 14-gate new concourse. I'm sure I'm gonna see a lot of you, because we're gonna celebrate that right around October 1st. Working on an event with United Airlines. They'll have a celebration, and service will begin early October out of that concourse. If you go out there today, you'd be amazed at how many workers are out there. I think we're in 700-800 workers a day per tour. And they're working around the clock to make sure that we're ready for that new concourse right around October 1st. We told United we'd be ready on September 30th, and we're going to be ready on September 30th. But then they will decide when and how they use it going forward beyond that. We have people out there training. Folks have to be oriented to the new facility, and it'll be ready to go. It'll be the best facility that we have on this campus, because it'll be the newest facility, modern facility, have all the amenities, have great stores, and so we're really looking forward to that later this year. Now, let's switch over to DCA. We still are working our way through the accident, and it was very, very unfortunate that we had that crash. I think a lot of our folks relive it every day, because anytime there's an accident anywhere in America, they show this. And so if you were part of that, it's really traumatic. And so my hat's off to the people that, our folks, the mutual aid responders who came that day and really put everything they could into trying to save folks. Fortunately, it didn't happen, but it was a textbook response. And I'm really grateful to our partners who came to us that day. I'm grateful to the people who continue to recognize the work that was done, but most importantly, recognize the families. Because that's what it was all about. And how unfortunate it was that we had many young people on that plane, and it made it truly sad. So, Congressman Beyer, working with Alexandria, they put together a memorial down in the park on the water, down there at the foot of King Street, and it was a very, very nice event. And we continue to try and make sure that actions are taken by the Congress, by the FAA, to make sure that something like that never happens again. And so, hats off to Jennifer Hamane for the work that she's doing with the NTSB, and hats off to Secretary of Transportation Duffy for the work that he's doing to try and upgrade the air traffic control system in the United States. I think we all have to continually remember this and do what we can. Each of us has some part to play to make sure that we get past that and that it's never repeated again in the United States. Now, at Reagan National, we think about challenges. If you fly Southwest and you go out of Terminal 1, that Banjo facility has seen its better days. So there is a plan. Talked about the capital plan here at Dulles, all the projects that we have there. We have a plan to replace Terminal 1. The great news is we have space to build new gates, replacement gates, without shutting down that terminal. So it'll be, hopefully no impact on passengers until we have that new concourse built. We're going to put the ticketing area, we're going to extend Terminal 2 and put the ticketing area and baggage claim at the end of Terminal 2 on the west side. That's where it's going to be. And so it'll be a phased project. First we'll build the gates, and then we'll build the new ticketing and baggage claim areas in the future. We also have a new parking garage, long in the making, but that new parking garage is now open on one level. There'll be multiple levels opening up over the course of the next couple of months. So we're really excited about that because that has been a big challenge at Reagan National. That's not to say that we are not still a proponent, back to, what we did earlier, that what Phyllis Randall talked about. We are advocate and we are constantly pointing to transit as the best way to get to our airport. However, people do need to come and park, and so we're going to have more parking. The great news is we're expecting continued growth at Reagan National, and so part of this parking is for our employees. And so we really need it. The other reason we needed this parking garage to go up was the fact that as we do construction, some of the construction we're talking about, we're going to displace, some of the existing parking today. And so you see that, again, new parking garages are going to go up, and then that'll give us the flexibility to do the construction that we need there. One of the things we're going to do at that airport, I don't have a slide for it, is we're going to fix the roadways. So we're going to fix the roadways. We're going to have a real rental car facility, one that can accommodate more cars, because right now we spend a lot of time, the rental car companies, taking cars onto and off of our campus to accommodate that. And so we'll fix the roadways. You're going to see the red brick buildings on the top of the hill. We've already taken the slate off of the roof of one for historic reasons, and we're preserving it, but the building is going to come down. And so you'll see that happening. The second building will be coming down probably later this year. That'll open up the opportunity for a roadway, much better movement around our campus, and then we'll construct some facilities there as part of that. If you've been to Reagan National, you're seeing new restaurants, new seating, new restrooms. So while we built out the Concourse E, which I think is a fabulous concourse, we didn't want to leave the rest of the campus alone. So, starting at the E and building our way back, we've rebuilt, everything there from a seating, new restaurants. National Hall now has seating in it. So it's a much better experience than it had been. And it'll continue to get better because we're going to continue to improve things. We have new concessions that we made a plan that we would redevelop more than 100 concessions. 58 already open, 22 are under construction, more to come. We're going to hit that 100 number, but the experience is going to be great, and there'll be a lot of names that you recognize, and we're trying to stick to kind of the local restaurants, so Busboys and Poets and some other things that you'll be very familiar with and hopefully you'll enjoy. Clyde's, by the way, just opened up at Concourse D here at Reagan National. Here at Dulles Airport. So again, you're going to see local names, brand names, and again, have a better experience. From a sustainability standpoint, we want to be good neighbors. And so we've done a number of different things. You're all aware of our solar farm. We're now producing electricity at that solar farm, and it's being fed into the grid. We have expanded our green concessions program. We're very grateful that our concessionaires participate in that. And, we have achieved numerous industry awards, not just us, but our tenants have really helped step up and participate when it comes to sustainability. As you all know, on the Dulles Toll Road, we now have open road tolling. You don't stop. Again, we think that's a great contributor to cleaner air. I know I've been asked numerous times what's going on with tolls. No toll increase till 2028, so just relax. Whatever you read, don't believe it, but again, we're very happy that we were able to move to all electronic tolling there. And then from a community initiative standpoint, I have to tell you, I'm very proud of our people. This is not Jack Potter that does this. This is our people. We give them the opportunity to step in and, you know, where they see an opportunity to work with the community and help the community, and in some cases help ourselves, we do it. So we have we've been given numerous awards for our human trafficking awareness programs. We have a small business university where we bring in small companies and we try to help them develop their businesses, and in the process we want them to be contractors for us. And so we've, you know, graduated numerous, over 100 different companies have participated over the years. We've had, you know, George Mason University, Howard University. We've had numerous universities that put these programs on. We're very happy to celebrate we have a youth art work program. We work with Eleanor Holmes Norton, who has, for the last 20 years, selected winners for that program. Then we post the kids' drawings. We post them in our lobbies. We do the same thing out here at Dulles Airport. We have Dulles job fairs at both airports. We bring students to our airports from the different counties, and we introduce them to our airport as a place to work. And when you think about it as a place to work, we have jobs, but more importantly, there are over 50,000 jobs on our 2 campuses. So the airlines participate with us. You know, all of the different contractors that we have participate. But when you think about any career that you might have, a job exists here. You want to be a mechanic, a plumber, a carpenter, an accountant, a lawyer, you name it, those jobs exist on our 2 campuses. And, you know, people are excited. You know, it's amazing when you open people's eyes to what actually careers exist on our campuses. And I love watching these kids, you know, eyes open up and light up when they realize you have your own fire department, you have your own police department, you have an apprentice program, a world-class apprentice program. I can come here, I can get trained. And I really love the apprentice program. I think I've told you this story, but I'm going to tell it again. You know, I went to a Fairfax high school, and we bring our apprentices and have them talk to potential candidates. And I love it because it's our young people talking to people who are potential candidates. And there's one young man that gets up and says, I didn't know what I wanted to do coming out of high school, but I didn't want to go to college. My mother wanted me to go to college. And I was caught in a dilemma. And then I looked at your program, the program that we had, and he said, I saw that there's an education opportunity. And I was able to convince my parents that this is a path I'd really like to go down. And I think he's like 25 years old now. And he said, so I now have 2 junior college degrees. Mom's happy, dad's happy. Right? He says, I have a townhouse. He says, I have a brand new car. I have a 457 account. I have health benefits. I have a pension program that I don't contribute to, but it's a defined pension program. And he ends it, which I think is the greatest line, and ladies, I'm single. And I would say, all right, there's the guy, he's got his head straight, right? Okay, so noise obviously is a challenge. And I want to thank Phyllis Randall, Loudoun County, and our neighbors for being very mindful of the fact that growth at our airports, particularly at Dulles Airport, is contingent upon additional service. And we're anticipating that we're going to get, you know, a couple of hundred more flights per day in the you know, probably in the next 10 years, right? And so it's critically important that today we don't set up problems for tomorrow. And what's the problem? You put communities under a flight path, that's a potential problem for an airport. And our airport is an international airport, and you have flights coming in all times of the day and night, in the wee hours of the morning. We know that's there We try to work with everybody to make sure that they're aware of the fact that that's going to be the norm, right? And so, again, we need to continue to work together, and the Committee for Dulles has been extremely helpful in making sure that we get the word out. You know, this is what, if you're going to buy a home, this is what you're buying into. It's not as if suddenly this is going to go away. And I wish there was a solution, and things have gotten better. MD-80 is the loudest plane in America, is no longer, you know, in the fleets. The fleets are getting better, but the activity is not going to go away. If anything, it's going to grow. And it's part of our role at the airport to provide as much service as we possibly can to as many destinations as we possibly can, because it helps the economy. Helps the economy. Think about this. Think of all the tourism that comes to this metropolitan area, whether it's going to Virginia or the nation's capital or places in Maryland. They come through our airports. Think about all the events that happen here. It's critically important that we have great service. Think about the great companies that we've been able to attract. Part of the attraction is the fact that we have great logistics here. We have service, great international airport, and we have two other airports, MWAA and DCA. We have great airport service, and we have the ability to grow. So it makes this place attractive, and we have to continue to work together to make sure that the assets that we have are going to be able to produce and continue to produce going forward by not putting things that will inhibit the growth that is critical to the economy of this metropolitan area. Now, America's 250th, let's celebrate, okay? And we are doing our part to celebrate. We love the fact, you saw the plane earlier, the United Airlines livery that's been decorated for the 250th. And this will be the hub of the United States celebration. With that though, there's a lot of events. And so when you start to look at those events, they do cause some traffic issues at our airports. And so there are going to be many flyovers. I'll point out the two that are the biggest. On July 3rd, there'll be a block of time at DCA where the airport will be closed. Why? Because they'll be doing practice runs for the following day. On July 4th, this is unprecedented, they're going to shut the airport down for 12 hours, from noon to midnight. And so the airlines have been aware of it. They're not booking flights during that window, those windows of time. But there are other times of the day these events where there's a flyover, we'll shut down for a half hour at a time. But those in particular, we're making sure that people are aware of going forward. We're thrilled to celebrate the 250th, but we want people to be aware of these things and how it affects our airport. Not complaining about it, just an awareness thing. Don't think that you're going to be able to, fly in, at 9 o'clock at night while the fireworks are going on. I'm going to have this great view of an event. Well, you won't, because there won't be a plane in the air, right? And so that's it. I just want to thank you all for all of your support and look forward to coming back with even better news in the coming months. So thank you very much.